How's it going out there? It's January 10th. Hi, Frank Curzio, the Wall Street Unplugged podcast, where I break down headlines and tell you what's really moving these markets. So finally back from the CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. A little under the weather. It seemed like every single circle I was in, someone was coughing their heads off and sick. And nobody really cared. Which is cool. Especially compared to the past few years. 2021, they canceled the in-person part of CES. They only had it online, which was terrible. And last year, only 2,000 companies showed. But we had tons of cancellations pretty much a week, 2 weeks into the show after these companies said they were going to be there because Omicron started to surface, started to spread like crazy. And you only had about 60,000 people show up, and this was last year. Compared to, on average, it's over 170,000 pre-COVID. This year, they had over 100,000, over 3,200 companies. More than double from last year. Still down from the 4,000 plus in 2019, 2020, those events. You had over 4,000 people from the media. I mean, it was so many media companies. So many. I remember I used to cover this event. There was a few. But 4,000 people from the media. But there was definitely a buzz because when you have the media access, you get early access, which comes from Thursday to Sunday. But Tuesday, Wednesday have media events where only you could attend. So you get the scoop before everybody else. And a lot of buzz that day. Also a lot of buzz the first day it opened, which is Thursday, in terms of people and traffic. And during the event, you've seen all these articles come out. The best things I saw at CES. Why it's so great. It's fully open now and how much fun they had and everything. How just awesome it was compared to the past 2 years. I've been attending this event for 12 years now. And I know you listen to this podcast because I'm a no bullshit type of guy. This is the benefit of being independent, not having to support my network's agenda or political affiliations or anything like that. And I tell it how it is. But you're not going to read this anyplace, what I'm going to tell you right now. Because to be perfectly honest, CES 2023, it sucked this year. They really, really dropped the ball. I mean, the definition, CES stands for Consumer Electronics Show. It's where consumers have fun trying out the latest tech gadgets that are going to be launched for the entire year. And this is an entertaining conference. You have everybody there reporting on it, sharing videos through social media. They promote that. I go to healthcare conferences. I go to mining conferences. Sometimes they don't like that. A lot of times they don't like, could I have an interview? No way. You're not taping this, are you? They just have their little booth, or they'll go up there and do a presentation and read off the slideshow. That's it. No. That's not the Consumer Electronics Show. You get to sample everything. You get to have fun. They want the media there. They close down booths for me so I can go over all their products. Bring my video guy with me. Just having fun. 3 of us down there this year. Trying to cover as much as I can. But it was not fun this year. Many reasons why. And you can start right from the beginning where they had a theme. The theme of the Consumer Electronics Show was human security for all. That was the theme. What is fun about that? It's like going to the Daytona 500 and hear the roaring of the engines just before the race. And when it starts, the drivers are not allowed to go past 75 miles per hour. That's what it's like. You get all this buzz and excitement, and then you're like, whoa, where is it? But human security for all, that's your theme? I mean, has human security and fun ever been in the same sentence together? Ever? And that was the first thing right off the bat. And then it's the green technologies. And I said this in 2022, last year's event. And you look at these green technologies and how you take whatever, filthy, dirty water, purify it, reverse osmosis, heat it, cool it, and shake it all around and put in this big machine that needs to be built in a factory that costs $100 million to make. And these things aren't going to generate profits for, 2045? But they're allowed to operate this way because they're using taxpayer dollars, all this stuff, right? They're explaining all this stuff. It's going to turn filthy, dirty crap water into water that doesn't taste good, but you're going to be able to drink it. So we need this. Oh, we need to understand how we use paper straws, which is great for the environment, but absolutely sucks for everyone and anyone who likes to use straws. And I'm not killing the environment here. I'm not saying that. I'm not, whatever. The climate change people are I'm not totally overboard and crazy. You got craziness on both sides. You have nothing to worry about at all, and this is all fake and bullshit. And then you have the other people, you got to put all your money into it. The world's going to end, and we're going to be underwater in a couple of years. There's a big middle between that. I know it's for the environment, but this is not fun. It's not fun learning about the process of making a really cool product we all use and changing it into something that's shit now. At least the experience is. Our water bottles don't even stand up anymore. Our washing machines don't last past 4 years because all those green, saving, crazy components they use. And my first washing machine when I was a kid, I think we had for over 20 years. It shook the whole house when it was on, and you probably get your finger chopped off during the spin cycle. It was like 80 miles per hour, but it cleaned everything. I can't tell you how many washing machines I've been through. In the past 10 years, 3 of them. I'm not kidding you, 3 of them. But presenting your green initiatives at the Consumer Electronics Show? It's like going to the circus and taking your kids there, and they make an announcement that instead of having the trapeze, the clowns, the lions, we're going to watch a video on how to keep the animals safe. Imagine that. No, that's not what you go to circus for. It's not what you go for the CES for. It's supposed to be fun. Green technology is not fun. That's why every booth that had these green technology being sprayed were empty. Nobody cared. Then they have a CEO come in. They have all these seats and they were empty. Nobody was even listening to them. The places to display these technologies, the Goldman Sachs Global and Clean Energy Conference, which was going on the same week. That's where you go. That's the audience for that, and that's cool. But not the CES, not the Consumer Electronics Show. That's not what you go there for. Somebody's going to spend millions on these booths to get the people there, and I can't tell you, it's unbelievable how they have these massive setups, the lights, everything. It has to be more than $1 million. We just went to a conference, a Metaverse conference. It costs the same place for TCG, who had it at the convention center. And I told them, I said, why have it in a convention center? Have it in a hotel. They didn't know better. They were coming from overseas. It was like $5,000 for a carpet, another $3,000 to get internet. You look at these things, $1 million setups. You want people there. That's what it's for. Taking pictures, having fun, going over everything, seeing your pictures. It's free publicity. It's the greatest marketing conference in the world. And then when I look at celebrities, and pre-COVID, 2020, everyone showed up. The CES. You had Alicia Keys, Michael Phelps, WWE legends, Pat Benatar, Stevie Nicks, LL Cool J, Ludacris. And Snoop Dogg post-CES parties performing. I did hear Snoop Dogg did perform at an Amazon after party this year. And Amazon had this massive booth as well, which was basically all about Alexa and voice recognition technology, stuff you've been talking about for 6-7 years. And they were actually in the auto section again. Massive booth, but again, not fun stuff, not even from Amazon. The after party is probably cool if you work at Amazon. But getting back to celebrities, there was hardly any. Some old school football pros, Barry Sanders, Marshall Faulk, and Randall Cunningham. Randall Cunningham's on my top 3 lists. The reason why I'm an Eagles fan. If you follow me at Twitter, I posted a picture there. He's in top 3. The Randall. You have Danny Manning, which I got a picture with my daughter, which is great. And that was went to the Kansas championship last year, NCAA championship, when they won. And Michael Jordan, those are my top 3. So I was like a little starstruck. And my wife just bought me an authentic jersey, Randall Cunningham, because I'm never going to buy a jersey for a current player since they leave teams all the time in any sport. So I told him, I tried to one day it there and I couldn't get it there. And I told him about it. He's gave me an address to send it to, and he's going to sign it to me. That's how cool he was, Randall Cunningham. What a great guy. It's awesome. That was a good experience. But getting back to celebrities, they had Martha Stewart there for 5 minutes and ran away. this hologram thing, which was actually a pretty cool booth. Mario Andretti, who I managed to get an autograph only because I went down the wrong aisle and he was there signing stuff. I mean, no display or anything. I was like, whoa, that's Mario Andretti. And, he was really cool, and I just got there. There was no line or anything for him. But other than that, there weren't really celebrities anywhere. And when they were buried in just small areas where you had to get lucky to find them. And last year, Sony, Sony, Samsung, LG always have the biggest booths, and they always have this massive presentation that they do. And it's the media presentation, the launch event. And it's huge. They take out these huge theaters and everything. So I went to Sony, and that was the day before the conference opened. Last year, Tom Holland came out, had great seats, came out, Spider-Man. It's awesome, people going crazy. Right, that was last year's media event. This year, they didn't have any celebrities. Didn't have any celebrities. Look at Intel every year when you walk into the South Hall. That is massive display. Massive. They didn't show up this year. Intel wasn't there. Isn't that weird? This is the first year that I think Intel wasn't there. I mean, pre-COVID, they were one of the largest booths all the time. They weren't there this year. Can't blame them. I mean, you got NVIDIA and AMD eating their lunch. But still, they had a pretty good release. The new generation chip, as all these companies release their new versions of the chips. But even better, when you're looking at the CES as a whole, the South Hall was closed. So you have the North Hall, you have the South Hall, and now they opened the West Hall, right? That's all at the convention center, and CES takes place in a lot of different hotels. Venetian, which is a disaster. The Venetian's a disaster. Getting there and getting back, the tram doesn't go there. Getting car service is terrible. You got to walk through the entire Venetian hotel to get there because sometimes it's blocked off in the back area where the expo is. I mean, it's just a horrible venue, and this year was worse than ever. But when you go to Convention Center, they have these three halls, and they just opened up the West, which hosts a lot of the auto companies. But when you come off the tram, you almost go right to the south. You're walking, across the street, and the South Hall is right there. They closed the South Hall. And this is where all the biggest booths were. All of them. It was the best. And massive companies like Qualcomm, streaming companies, Alibaba, JD, Tencent, Baidu. A lot of these companies didn't show up. I guess you could expect that from the China companies and technology companies. It was expected because, given the recent travel restrictions, Biden just placed on China residents coming to the U.S. due to COVID, which I thought was a xenophobic thing to do. That was xenophobic. Terrible that he did that. That's exactly what Trump said when Trump imposed those restrictions on China, right? Which was early February 2020, 1 month before everything got really crazy in the U.S. Remember, they ripped them apart for that? But you're allowed to do it now. It's okay. No problem. And it was a smart move, right? It's spreading like crazy in China. We just kind of poke and phone it, the way politics work. Call someone a racist and then you turn around and do the same thing. Don't worry. I know if you're a Democrat, you're like, oh, if you, Frank, I'm a Republican. It's both sides do the same shit. Just poking fun at it, having fun, stirring you guys up a little. But then going to the West Hall was interesting because you have to take the Hyperloop there, which goes in the car in a little tunnel, which is cool, but it's a pain in the ass if you have like media equipment and you got to go up and down an escalator. They got thrown in the car and it's like a mile and a half, whatever, to the West Hall if they take you through this big tunnel. It's cool if you haven't done it, but that's where they had the media room. I mean, you had this massive, the North Hall and South are huge. The South is closed. I can't believe the South is closed. I couldn't believe it, that part of the conference was closed. There's just so many people cut back. They have sports companies like Nike, Under Armour, right? All displaying their latest sports tech. Stuff that you're wearing that tracks you and wearables and all this stuff. Fitness companies everywhere where you get to sample all new treadmills, row machines, get to climb these obstacle courses where they set up. I remember playing ping pong against a robot the past 2 years. This year, nothing. None of that. Nike, Under Armour, not there. I mean, I like shooting basketballs. They have this, courts set up in the middle of the conference. That's how big it is. It's huge. We have these basketballs tracking your technology and keeping score and hundreds of people watching. You're shooting threes and having contests and stuff. Baseball cages, again, tracking your stats and hockey. But none of that was there this year. None of it. You had esport companies having live events, music blasting. And gaming in general, that's a big part of it, gaming. We used to have these little treadmills you're walking on with the VR glasses, and they had those everywhere, and they had a lot of glass displays, which I was disappointed in. Like, I think the future, if you're going to have just glasses and not like the big headsets for VR, AR, whatever, they have to look exactly like your glasses. That's where we're going. That is going to replace the smartphone. It will. And I think it's going to happen sooner or later. I think it's going to happen within 5 years. People saying 10 years. It's going to happen sooner. Sooner than 10 years. But nothing was even close to that. Some of the stuff that we sampled, they didn't work. These glasses. You put them on and they didn't work. And so, well, partners came and he tried 3 different times with one company and all 3 of them didn't work. How are you getting a booth for that much money at CES and your product doesn't work? But there was a very little presence when it came to gaming. There was some, but they used to have these massive events where you hear music and bass and everyone's like wearing these VR sets and these screens being displayed where people playing against each other. A lot of fun. I remember NBA used to be there, so the NBA on TNT. Barkley, Shaq, Kevin Smith. You had all these hosts on there. It was awesome. They came around, signed autographs, but they were doing their live broadcast. That's Kenny Smith, sorry. Live broadcast. Kenny Smith and my brother played against the basketball at Malloy. At TNT, where they had like a double header and they would broadcast live from there and they talk. It was like really cool. They had that to CES. They didn't have it. No way. Never again. It would probably be a good idea to showcase a lot of this stuff in front of 4,000 media representatives and over 100,000 consumers who attended. I remember pre-COVID, 2020, I believe it was, they jumped in a large pool of water that was set up in the middle of the conference floor. It's a massive pool. I was sampling this Sea-Doo product, which is underwater engine that goes 4 miles per hour. 4 miles per hour is very, very fast underwater. Believe it or not. I had to wear a wetsuit when I did. It looked like an oversized fat penguin with hundreds of people watching me. But it was awesome. I jumped right in. It was entertaining. I love it so much I bought the product, which was $900. I got it set. We still use it. My kids still use it around the pool. It's great. You take it in the ocean. It just takes you right down. Hold on to it. You could hook up your cameras to it, take pictures. It has lights. It's unbelievable. Not this year. So every year when you go to CES, there was cool hardware to try out. But this year was more about software and AI. And although it's pretty cool, I guess, that you can cook a turkey to perfection in an AI-generated oven, which Samsung has. But I don't know if that's fun. I can't sample that. I can't try that. When I'm looking at chefs, I'm pretty sure most chefs actually like cooking things. But there's going to be no need to do that anymore since every meal in an oven's going to come out perfectly cooked. I mean, it's great for the majority of people, but again, it's not something that you could really like test out. Of course, you have the newer versions of laptops and PCs that display more power than ever. That's what a lot of chip companies and stuff like that. But again, consumers can't really try that stuff. At CES, you've seen the videos, and we have videos, but I felt like we taped a lot fewer videos than ever. And just the atmosphere was different. I mean, there was no DJs playing on the floors, loud music, robots walking around. Like Alibaba always had, this big robot you could talk to. I mean, you would think someone's in there because it would just talk to you immediately. You could have a conversation with it. It was awesome. Also, you had all these drone displays. I think I saw one small one. There's buzz out there. Oh, the EVs and the cars. I think this was the biggest disappointment. That's what I was really looking forward to. And I brought you that where we see pictures of the concept cars. I mean, EVs are the future, yet where the hell was Ford and GM? I think they had the best premier EV lineups for 2023. That's what they said. They didn't have booths. Toyota came out to display their new interior space creator. Just featured an ugly ride-hailing 3-row autonomous bus, which was kind of an eyesore. But show your concept car. Show what it could be. And there used to be at least 50 of these. I mean, I saw 6 or 7 that were cool. And people say, oh, the BMW. This car changes colors. It was the same theme as last year. I showed it to you. It was the same thing. It had a couple more colors on it. Deere had that monstrous tractor there. I love their technology, and that was really cool. Increasing crop yields. That was actually pretty cool. But this monster tractor, Brunswick had their huge EV boat. It was one of those massive mining trucks where the tires are 6 feet high. I don't know if you guys saw them. But all of that has been displayed like the past 2 years that were in person. I've seen them before. They've been there already. If you haven't been there, they're amazing. But if someone goes every year, I was like, man, that you didn't really do anything. You had Sony, which revealed its own EV, which will produce alongside Hyundai, which is a pretty good, cool-looking car, but it won't be available for another 3 years. So if you really look in EV terms, you always times it by 3, so that's probably 9 years away. And I'm not kidding. It's like when a mine Tesla public, how much it's going to cost to produce a mine. Usually times that number by 3, and then add another 5 years. That's the math. And you're perfect. That's what you got to do. It's only going to cost us $30 million to produce this mine, and we're going to do it in 3 years. Okay. Again, times that number by 3 and add another 5 years to whatever they say, and you'll be perfect. The analysis will be spot on 100% of the time. Now, I'm not crapping on it, saying it was a waste of time. It wasn't a waste of time. It was great for a guy like me where there were cool things. Mercedes had an awesome-looking car. Lucid had a great car. You had an EV Daytona Charger, 800 volt that again, more concept. Maybe I saw 7 cool cars, and usually I see 50 I'm taking pictures of, and it's awesome. You get in these things. But not as many this year. A couple more cool things. There's a robot that talks to you. You sit down, and it's, looking at your face. This model's looking at it. So it's one of those robots. It's on an arm, and the face is on an arm where it looks real. It's like scary. And the other has an arm on it, and they sketch your face and talk to you. You can ask them questions. And some girl sat there, "Am I beautiful?" Like, "Yeah, you're beautiful, and you look great." Instead of just answering, questions using AI, it was cool. And then sketched her face in like 3 minutes. That was really cool. I mean, laptops are always like, oh, more power, more this, more that. But Lenovo Yoga Series, it's called a 9i. I thought this was awesome. It folds, so you have 2 screens. So you have your keyboard, and it opens up where you could have 2 screens next to each other, which I always use 2 screens, and I hate laptops because it only has 1 screen because I'm always busy, and I'm so used to using 2 screens now when I'm working. And also, you could put those on top of each other, one on top, one on the bottom. I thought that was really cool. Sony released a product called MacP. It's a consumer version that allows you to record patterns and movements for your avatar. So you probably saw this technology where you see actors and like in the movie Avatar, right? They have to wear these suits, and they have dozens of white dots and crazy cameras and lighting you need, and they'll show it, and then when you see it, they're like in water and stuff like that, and CGI screens. But this, you just strap on a sensor to your wrists, your ankles, your head and back. Simple, though. You grab your smartphone, and you're going to have your avatar move exactly like you. I thought that was cool, especially in the world where the technology is getting better and better. People having their own avatars. You're going to see the metaverse start really taking off. I mean, metaverse, holy cow. I cannot believe how many companies were talking about this. And some of them use the word metaverse, like NVIDIA, and Omniverse, and things like that. Use their metaverse platform. But I'm talking Sony. I interviewed Microsoft, which Curzio Research Advisories members will see, along with a lot of pictures and stuff like that. We're keeping a lot of stuff behind the paywall this year, a lot of ideas and stuff. You had, Microsoft. You had Amazon. You had Samsung. NVIDIA, AMD, all these companies are talking the same thing, especially Sony in its presentation, in its launch. 70%, the CEO of Sony was talking about merging the physical world with the virtual world, being in person at these events. That's the metaverse. Whether it's sporting events, whether it's concerts, live events, all of these guys are talking about that. That's the next generation of the internet. 3D printing. I've covered this before. And the problem with 3D printing is it's really cool. You can print organs. You can print anything you want now. But there was lots of problems. You couldn't scale it. You couldn't get to a consumer. That's different now. I mean, Hasbro just signed a deal with Formlabs, which is a 3D printing company, and they signed it, I think, about 4 or 5 months ago, and up to 2 months ago, they only had 2 action figures. Now they have a bunch of them, and Hasbro has a deal with Marvel, so you have, the Marvel characters, and you have an app that maps your face, then you pick the hair color, facial hair, other features, whatever you want to make it look like you, and it prints your face on an action figure. So there's 11 available now. It's probably going to be hundreds available soon. That include Iron Man, Black Widow. I chose Spider-Man, but it's $79.99. Got it for free because we got the media pass. It took me probably 4 minutes, 3 minutes to do, to map your face, go back and forth, and then pick everything. They send it off, and then in 30 to 45 days, I'm going to get a Spider-Man with my face on it. I think that is awesome for kids. That's how you scale 3D printing. This is amazing. And then they address the problems that they had, where materials are a pain in the ass. Now they just have a box of resin. They have autonomous 3D printers set up. So what Hasbro would do would buy like 20 of these things, and then they all work together. You program them, and you don't have to print one, stop, put the materials in. They'll print like 50 each, and based on maybe the color of the skin, light skin, or if it's dark skin or whatever, it'll go to a different machine. But now you could leave, you come back, and each one of these machines will have 40, 50 printed. You take out the used resin, and you could throw in the garbage. But they addressed all the problems to scale this. And Formlabs is a great 3D printing company. It had $2 billion valuation. Last capital raise, that was, I think, early 2022. So maybe it's a little bit lower, but man, and that is cool. I could see kids doing that. Imagine having your face on a superhero, and how could you scale? How do you get 3D printing and these products into the hands of everybody? That's one way, because now you're going to see probably Mattel do that and other companies do that. But finally, you figured out a way where it's easy for a company to print these things. It's not that difficult. The learning curve is easy. You can print a ton of these things, so you're scaling, and you have a fun feature that makes sense. That's the first time in 12 years. I mean, I thought it would be bigger. 2019, 2020, it was getting more traction compared to 2012, 13, 14, where you saw 20 companies there. Then it really shrunk. But you had like 3 or 4 companies there, and it was exciting. They had a lot of people at the booths and people trying this technology out. It was cool. So there's ideas there that made sense. I had, just incredible meetings. Found lots of ideas. But one of those amazing meetings included being invited to the HTC Vive launch party. And that was by the airport. That was outside of the Consumer Electronics Show. And the Vive has been dubbed the Oculus Killer. And I sampled it. It was absolutely amazing. I wouldn't say it's an Oculus Killer, but it's definitely a huge competitor. But they had this at a movie studio called VU. VU. I never heard of it before. I didn't realize how massive this company was. We went to their set, and the set was I'm probably doing a shitty job explaining it again. Curzio Research Vive members, you're going to see pictures and videos of this, which is awesome. It's just completely massive. But they had a Jurassic Park set up there, and a guy in one of those Jurassic Park Jeeps, and they showed in this picture, and then in the background, they have all trees and fog, like he's in the forest, and it was showing how they could move one tree to the other, so you don't need those real-life studios anymore, and how much trouble that would be. But the 3D technologies, and it was showing how the virtual is changing the face of the movie business and the movie industry. Because they were like, how do we bring the studio to the person, especially during COVID? And all you have to do is go there, and you could film almost a whole movie. So now they were showing how they could lower the fog, increase the fog, move these trees, how the 3D, based on where the sun is, it's going to automatically pick up different shadows. And how they could add anything they want to do. It's just whatever the creator wants, but no need for green screens. I mean, highlighted this, and the sound in that studio was unbelievable. It was massive. It probably holds like 1,000 people on the floor, and there was like 350 people, I think, who were there. And we're talking about high-end influencers, guys from Unity, guys from Unreal. Those are the 2 technologies when it comes to, the metaverse. Unreal has much better graphics, but Unity is much easier. It's more compatible. It's open source, but they all have members of their teams there. So just, talking and mingling with those people was incredible. And the value of that, just going to that meeting alone. But that's what it was. Usually I'm not attending a lot of meetings, a lot of events, but that's what it was mostly. And less of, being able to try fun products and have fun and talk because, again, maybe a lot of that had to do with the current environment, which is bad right now, and I get it for technology. Again, one of the biggest themes, if not the biggest, was just how many major tech companies, and Sony, Microsoft had that interview, Qualcomm, NVIDIA, Apple, just talking about how important it was, and the new generation going forward, the future is combining the virtual world with the physical world. Yeah, that's the definition of the metaverse. So just bringing these experiences to anyone in the world. There's a company there that announced Justin Bieber virtual concert that's also going to be broadcasted on TikTok. It's going to be massive. So instead of having 30, 40,000 people there, just like you saw with Travis Scott, you're going to have 20 million people attend. They generated about 3-4x of what Lady Gaga would generate at a concert, who's, one of the biggest stars, or some of the biggest stars out there. And now all the biggest entertainers are looking at this going, holy shit, this is what we need to do. Those are real live examples. When it comes to the metaverse of how you could make money, and that's the entryway, that and gaming. But lots of applications, lots of haptics where you're wearing stuff. And again, it seems like that's a little too far ahead. How you smell during these events, it's just different scents and stuff like that. So the haptics is wearing stuff, and if you're playing a shooting game, you get shot, you're not going to feel like you actually got shot, but you feel it. That's like the next generation, but that's where we are now. That's the entryway into this, but you could see why so many retailers and billions of dollars is flowing into this from the major technology companies. This is what they see. Also, right after the event, the next day, Apple, best market in the world, announced that they were launching their new VR AR headset. Bloomberg announced this. I think they say it's still kind of rumors, but no, they're announcing it this year. And I was on a panel with members from Google, Accenture, NVIDIA talking about the metaverse. Even a member from Forbes, and they were saying how, and this is a surprise too, how all the big companies, usually they keep their technologies to themselves, they're all collaborating, they're all working together. And they all said they hope that Apple launches this thing, because look what it did for the iPhone. And Apple doesn't even attend this event, and yet 70% of the companies with their technologies, even smart homes or whatever, has to do with apps, and it's going to do with Apple, being on an Apple phone, or even Google with the Android phone. So there's so many companies that benefit when Apple launches new products and launching their new products, and when it comes to smartphones and things like that. Look what they did to smartphone from 2007 till now. And they didn't even have the App Store in 2007 when they first launched the first iPhone. Now you're looking, 15 years later, over 5 billion people have smartphones, and there's not too much more you could do on that smartphone. Cloud, super fast speeds, AI capabilities with certain things. We have that. What's the next generation? With Apple, it makes sense. If you're going to cannibalize, you might as well cannibalize your own product. You could see this being glasses one day where you're not carrying around your phone anymore. This is serious technology. I've seen it displayed. I've seen some of the biggest companies talk about this. This is where the market's going. This is what they're planning for. Because if you don't plan for this and you say, that's bullshit, you become AOL, you become BlackBerry, who invented the smartphone. Now they're trying to sell the technology in cars, which is competing against Apple again, Apple Play and Google and stuff like that, and it's not really working for them. You become Intel. Remember Intel? Look in 2013, 2014. You're looking at Intel at around $160 billion market cap. NVIDIA was like, I want to say 10 billion. You had AMD at a few $1 billion market cap. And you look today, and AMD is bigger than Intel's market cap. At least it's tied. NVIDIA is about 3 times the size. 2-3x that. Intel dropped the ball. Intel should have had all this going, all the powerful chips. You can't afford to drop the ball in technology. It's changing all the time, and you're seeing all these companies together. They're collaborating. They're working together to build this. It's not going to be one metaverse. It's going to be like streaming platforms. It's going to be LG signed a great deal with a company that's bringing the metaverse and their technologies, where if you go to LG TV, you'll have a channel, and you have all the VR stuff and that you could watch through the channel. And metaverses, right? That's great. Maybe some of that is in 2D and not 3D, where you're wearing a set, but still, that's where we're going. I believe TCG is going to be the Netflix of streaming platforms. They're fully funded. They're doing great. Still building it. It's incredible seeing what's going on. But again, there's other metaverse companies that are trying to do the same thing that need funding. I just think they're light years ahead of everybody else. It's going to be a cool experience. It's going to be gaming at first, but just that experience of going in there, having fun, being able to create, own your own content, own your own stuff. That's the future of the internet. So a lot of companies are talking about that, but not a lot of displays. So when I look at the CES, I'm going to be honest with you. From person's been there for 12 years, and I always say, you have to go there once. There's so many cool things, and you're going to have so much fun. It wasn't a fun event, especially in the Venetian, where they usually have the wearables and new technologies and the sports tech and things like that. It was dialed down. In Eureka Park, which is a Starbucks, was probably more fun, and usually 90% of that is, that's really detailed tech. Those aren't, you're not going to see a lot of billion-dollar ideas out of there. You're going to see, like, probably companies who have a ceiling where they're targeting a certain technology within a bigger field. But it's deep technology, how to improve certain technologies, whether it's, flying or technology at airports or different things. Again, not billion-dollar ideas, but that was more exciting than actually the mature companies who are supposed to have really cool booths. There's celebrities up there. So for me, that perspective, you're not going to read that anyplace. It was kind of disappointing. And they need to do a better job because they dropped the ball on this one. Because I could tell you, next year, I'm likely going to go. I have great contacts there. I had probably lots of great after parties and meetings and stuff like that. And plus, this is the first year the metaverse was really a big theme. And the party I went to, I saw a couple of people that I moderated a panel for. That I saw at other conferences. I mean, they were invited to this thing. So for me, that's going to get bigger and bigger as we go further and further into this trend. But overall, you wanted to see more fun, more cool things. And don't talk about human security for all. We all need that. It's important. The environment, helping the environment, it's important. It's just, this isn't the conference for that. It's a conference where you have fun, you enjoy it, where you have free publicity. You go out to millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people. If you have something that's that cool, you're going to see all these pictures taken all over social media and you just go viral. You didn't see a lot of that this year. The good news is it is back. Companies felt better attending. However, when you're looking at what's going on with technology, and we're in a downtrend right now, a very, very big downtrend, the biggest downtrend since 2000. I'm not talking about Black Swan events like in 2020 and COVID and just the credit crisis where you saw this massive decline and quick, bounce up. I'm talking about, over 20 years. We had 2000, 2001, 2002, where you're just seeing all luster come out of this market. Nadella from Microsoft just had an interview. I think it was CNBC India or whatever, just saying how these trends, and Microsoft benefits from everybody launching new products. They're in everything. Their software is in everything. They're involved in everything. So they're a company that should hold up pretty well. And they were like, look, we're not seeing the spending. You see massive cutbacks. And that might have been it because the booths weren't as exciting. I mean, for Intel not to be there, for these booths to be scaled back, for them not to show their EVs and stuff like that, maybe it was just like, hey, we really, really need to step back. And companies are cutting costs dramatically within this sector. We're seeing it. I mean, they're announcing second rounds of layoffs. But this is the opportunity here because this is what you don't have markets like this often where you want to pick and choose. And although the total addressable market's going to shrink, it also means there's going to be a lot of people going out of business. Because when you have this total addressable market bigger, just like you had in crypto, you have even the shitty companies are going to do well. Now, a lot of those companies go out of business. And even though that TAM, total addressable market, shrinks, you're going to have some of these big companies jockeying for positions, taking over some of these assets at dirt cheap prices, building themselves up during these times. The big technologies has been through this, through 2000, 2001, 2000. They barely survived. Amazon's they barely survived. There's a reason why their balance sheets are so strong right now, because now you have the power to buy a lot of companies. You have the power to cut back tremendously. And there's a lot of great talent out there that you could probably hire. Because you're going to see the next phase. You're going to see the next boom. Maybe it takes 2-3 years. But it's the companies that are positioning themselves now that are going to be the greatest companies and how you make the most money as an investor into the future. So you want to invest in management teams. You want to invest in fundamentals. That's very, very important now. It wasn't important the last 12 years where we had easy money policies and it didn't matter. I'm adding 20 million people to my list. I'm not generating any revenue yet. I'm not going to see profits for 7 years yet. Your valuation would be absolutely astronomical in the billions and billions and billions. Those days are over. They want to see profits. You want to see cash flow. That's the new world that we're going to be in the next couple of years. But you have to start looking for companies now, especially a lot of these names that are down 50, 60, 70%. Even some of the big guys are down that much. Could be a lot of separation here, and those are names you want to be in. So for me, it's a big deal where you pay me and my subscribers pay me to go to these conferences, to come back and give you ideas. That's great for me. But I'm just saying from a consumer perspective, as I would always say, just go there. It's a lot of fun. So many things to try. It was a letdown. It was a big letdown. If you're going to showcase your environmental stuff, showcase it along your exciting stuff at the booth. Don't make it fully environmental because that stuff is not fun. It's not fun for consumers to watch. We care about it, but again, this is a conference that's fun. And they really dropped the ball this year, and hopefully they're not going to do it next year. So if you're a Curzio Research Advisor, remember, tomorrow, check your issue. Going to cover this, talk much more, show you pictures, highlights, videos, and things like that. It'll be really, really cool. If you have any questions or comments, I'm here for you. FrankCurzioResearch.com. Have a great day. I'll see you guys, Daniel Crease, tomorrow. Take care.